Hi, all. One of the themes I think that you've probably noticed in our TED Talks and our readings and our discussions is the ability to listen well and to look beyond perceived definitions and categories of another and simply hear what they are saying to us. I think it's something that we are seeing. It's indicative in our culture right now, causing the tensions that are arising, and it's something that we as leaders don't always do well. We'll get the pressures from on high that we need to hurry, we need to produce, and taking the time to listen sometimes is time consuming in a way that we don't necessarily have the time to spend, but it is so important. And if you will humor me for a moment, I'm going to share with you a story kind of about my life the last year and a half and what led me up to. I just had surgery on Monday, so it was a 4-hour surgery. I had a bilateral prophylactic mastectomy, and it's not so much that I want to talk to you about the surgery itself, but about the path that led me to that surgery that was very interesting. There were a lot of no's and a lot of categories that I was placed into, and a lot of battle that I had to fight in order to get to where I felt very Holy Spirit led I needed to be. So the conversation started about a year and a half ago, where I reached out to my primary care physician, knowing full well that my mother was fighting breast cancer. I have two first cousins who have fought breast cancer. One is still battling breast cancer. She's been through chemo twice now. And the other one, unfortunately, did not survive. So she was diagnosed with breast cancer at about the age of 40. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And for those of you who have had cancer or have cancer in your families, hear me when I say, don't always listen to those stage 3, stage 4 designations. This cousin of mine who was diagnosed age 40 with stage 4 lived for another 12 years. She had 2 rounds of chemo. She traveled to Europe. She finished her college degree. Oh my goodness, she had lots of boyfriends, and she moved to several different apartments in Portland. She was a fighter. So she died at 52 from breast cancer. So watching all of this, I thought, what are my odds, and why would I wait around to see when I'm going to contract this horrible disease that I actually have lots of friends and family who are either actively fighting it or have fought it. So I went to my primary care. She was supportive, but she did say, I've never had another patient who has successfully gone forward with a prophylactic, which means you don't yet have breast cancer, but you're doing it as a preventative mastectomy. So she said, but I'll give you the referral that you need. And those of you who either are in healthcare or know anything about healthcare, you just have to get to each next level. So she sent me to the next level. That next level that I went to was a geneticist. And so I had an hour meeting with her. Similar, but a little bit more vehement response, although she was very kind. But she said, we really don't do this. We don't advise this at a prophylactic level, that no insurance company will cover it. But we can do the genetic test and see if possibly you're positive. That might give you some fodder for fighting the battle. So she explained to me, and of course I was fascinated by all the details of what the genetic test was, explained it all to me, did the genetic test, and by God's grace, I don't carry the gene, which is probably good for my 3 teenage girls, but not necessarily good for this strong Holy Spirit sense I had that I probably was going to go forward with this surgery. So met with her again for an hour, and again she said, well, I can refer you on to the next level, but you don't have the gene. And I'm thinking, okay, yes, but I have 3 very close family members who either are battling it or have tried to battle it. So what? Why would I just ignore this? So she sent me on to the next level. Next was a nurse practitioner who, again, very kind. It was about an hour appointment, and she approached it with, same thing. We don't recommend this. We don't do this. There are other things that you can do that would be much too radical to do a mastectomy. So at this point, this is like a year ago, I'm still completely open. All right, tell me what they are. And what I'm getting from this are charts, and let's put you over here in this category, and just as leaders, an inability to think outside the box and really hear what my story was and hear what my lifestyle's like and what I'm anticipating in terms of leadership positions or what I'm trying to do. And just very interesting to watch the other person in the conversation feel, I could see them physically feel locked down into what they needed to tell me to do. So she said, we don't advise this. Here are some of your other options. So I'm at this point completely willing to listen to the other options. Another option is a medication that I could go on because I was considered by all of them extremely high risk for breast cancer, even though I didn't carry the gene. And so go on this medication. You could go on it now, probably be on it for the rest of your life. I'm thinking, I'd like to have another 50 years. Okay, do I want to be on this thing for another 50 years? What are the side effects? Well, hair loss, weight gain, fatigue, and I'm thinking, no thanks. Doesn't sound fun at all. And then she had a couple other options that were similar. These are the side effects that go with it, but you'll decrease your chances of getting breast cancer by X percentage, whatever it was. So then I asked her, well, with this surgical procedure, what would be the side effects from that? And what are the risks, certainly, of going under general anesthesia, of doing this level of the surgery? And so she talked me through that, but post recovery for, probably about 4 weeks recovery after that, side effects, 0. And your reduction in your chance of getting breast cancer, I have gone in the last week. So from the beginning of last Monday until today, from what was considered in the medical community very, very high risk to less than 1%. And side effects after I get through this little bit of icky recovery period, none. Amazing. But one thing that she said to me was, we're concerned that you might emerge from it and feel deformed. And my response was, by what cultural standard are we suggesting the word deformed? She got a little bit defensive and said, I'm not sexist in this. And I just said, well, let's be careful about cultural assumptions and categories and standards. And again, trying to press people to think outside the box. What might be best for this individual situation? So it was a congenial conversation, maybe tense at a few moments. She called in another nurse to talk to me as well, and they ended up concluding with, all right, we'll refer you on to the next level. So finally got to a surgeon who actually I felt like was the first to listen to me and was able to look at an MRI and conclude that in addition to the high risk of breast cancer, there were some other reasons that, yes, we should go ahead with this surgery. From there, they refer you because, again, it's part of the protocol. You have to walk through these steps to a plastic surgeon. That was not something that I was interested in, but of course, I spent an hour with him, was interested to hear what he had to say. For whatever Holy Spirit reason, reconstruction was just never part of the cards for me. It just didn't interest me. There are further complications with that. I don't want to go there. And again, it seems like bowing to a cultural standard that I don't really have any interest in. So he was congenial about it. We got through that hoop and then went back to the regular surgeon and finally was getting the go-ahead. But what was fascinating to me was that for 1.5 years, I had to battle again and again with these appointments in each next level against categories, against definitions that made some sense statistically, but were they able to hear the individual who was at play here and who really is fighting for something that I know is not going to feel good, is not going to be fun to go through, and is going to be, emotionally and physically exhausting for not only me, but my family as well. And yet there was so much kickback. It was absolutely fascinating and really discouraging, frankly, that our culture is still in that place. So I would challenge you to think about, as you're just watching the news, as we all are sort of with bated breath these days, thinking about who is it who's not being heard? Is that a key part of the problem in so many areas right now? And then for you as a leader, are you able to listen well? And I know as a leader myself, there are times when I simply feel like I don't have time, especially if you're in any level of middle management. You're getting crunched from here and here, and you don't always have time to listen well, but maybe that's our job, to say that the pressure is coming from on high. I need more time. Hold on. I really need to listen to my people. I really need to understand what their needs are, where their best skills lie, and so that I can pour into those and help them do what they need to do. I think listening is so key to so much of this. And certainly it feeds into what we were talking about before, when we're hung up on IQ or hung up on EQ, or we aren't even cognizant of our own EQ, then we're held back from our ability to engage with AQ, audience quotient, or simply to listen well and perceive those around us, whether it's one person or a whole audience. So I hope my story does a little bit just to nudge you and get you thinking about the ways that maybe even you have not been listened to, and what might that mean, and how can we all in this class, myself included, as leaders, be the ones who listen exceptionally well. Because I think in that we can affect some cultural change. Blessings on your week.